Welcome back to another Medicinal Mass Media production. Today we have a debate between Ed Frees and Sean G. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. The debate is going to be, do we need government? You guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Demon Strike. What's up?
Hey. Ed, are you able to unmute?
Yes, I'm here. Did you unmute the show?
Awesome. Okay.
Can someone
right,
check
so
the
go
live
ahead
stream
and-
if we're unmuted?
Yeah, you fucking assholes. You're unmuted. All right, go ahead, Sean. You got 5 to 10 minute open.
All right. I think the crux of this debate is whether or not, as Ed claims it, is a government needed. I'm here to basically make it very clear that a governing system is implied in every situation of life, whether it's an anarchy system that becomes without a government, it will truly always form back into a government, showing that a governing system is basically the only path to human survival for the future to be possible. Without it, it's just chaos and lawlessness. Oneself, morals does not drive a community, nor does it drive the existence of the human race. It's pretty easily said and how it works. It's not something that can really be argued. It's just fact nature. That's it, Demon.
All right. Go back to, goddamn, no, I can't get. All right. Ed, if you're ready, go ahead.
All right. Well, I don't think we need the government at all. It's in human nature to think about yourself and the people next to you first. And how should I put this? The government is not necessarily a natural thing. It's involuntary. Nothing about the government is voluntary, and you can still have voluntary hierarchy in an anarchy system. That doesn't necessarily mean you need a government. You just need some form of cooperation to have a larger society. And not everyone needs to be part of that society in the first place. You're free to seek out such a system. You're free to not seek it out. And right now, you don't have any choice at all. Yeah, I guess that's it, basically, for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that was your opening or that was the rebuttal?
I guess both.
All right, well, that works. All right, so we can move it to back and forth then. If you guys'
Sean can,
openings are going to be short and
with his
sweet.
rebuttal, it doesn't matter.
So the idea, and I think this is where we need to play the define game. Start off really quick, so that we don't play the back and forth of defining later on. When you're saying government, are you implying something separate than a governing system, or is it the same understanding that it's a governing system that we're talking about?
It's an involuntary governing system. You have no choice but to be part of it.
Oh, I believe you do. I mean, you can move to a different country and be under a different government
That's still a government.
that suits you better. You're right. It still is a
rebuttal,
government.
right?
But,
So,
well, no, I think we're in the back and forth of it. I think it's going to be a rebuttal regardless. But it would be one of those things where the fact that you do have a choice in which government presides over you would make it very important that it's a governing system rather than just a government. I can see how having an issue with a government it could be something. but that's just the people. And that's why I wanted to play the define game, because if you're talking about the people that we currently have in government,
Yeah.
that is a separate conversation of whether or not we need government.
Right, but that's not what I'm talking about. The whole system is involuntary, and you can tell me that I can move, but that's ridiculous. I didn't have a choice in being born here, and I should still have a say in joining such a system voluntarily or not. And I just can't. And
Okay.
it shows so many problems. There's no real way to change anything in that system. And people tell me, well, you can vote, but that's a bullshit argument because, for example, here we have like 20 different parties. They're all forced to work together to form the majority. And in the end, nothing gets done because they all have to concede on points. And it's been the same for decades. There's no accountability, there's no improvement, there's no natural competition, which would improve things, which you see in the open market. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say.
Okay. Yeah, I everything you said, I agree with. The problem with what you said is that what you are describing is encompassing the people that are within the government now, the people that have took advantage of the government, because you can't say that 99% of government is corrupt and or in it for the wrong reasons.
That's what the
Um,
system allows
that
for. That's the whole problem.
no, the system doesn't. The system doesn't allow for it. It has just been manipulated by the people that are in it now.
Right, and there's no way
So if
of
there are
changing it. And if it doesn't
other,
really matter regardless, because the government, again, it's not voluntary. So um,
true, true.
yeah.
The the act of defending your borders isn't voluntary. That it's something that your government has responsibility to do. Um,
Why?
you calling uh, so that your community, your village, your country doesn't get run over by people who don't give a f.
Why does the whole country need this imaginary border when you have villages who can defend themselves against whatever?
Um,
It doesn't really make
be-
sense.
well, when you if you want to play the scale game, it makes more sense to what we're talking about. If you started off and it's just your family encompasses a governing system, whether it's the mother or the father who is the breadwinner or does the most to keep the family alive. Um, One of them is making most of the decisions. The kids are adhering to those decisions. Would you
Right.
agree that that is a governing system?
Yes, but in the end, it's naturally that you just leave the house and go live in your own house. It's natural that you leave this environment and go seek out your own and create your own environment. You can't really do that with the government at all. You're still
But
under
you,
the same
but
government if you even if you leave your parents' house. And don't forget, your parents are also having to adhere to rules from this government when raising you. So it's not necessarily even their rules in the house you're living in.
but for the most part, I would say the parents make up the majority of the rules of a child's life. Um, Again,
Really, the
whether it,
majority of the child's life, well, I wouldn't say the majority, but a large part of the child's life, the child is in school.
yes,
Yeah,
and that would be at the responsibility of the government at which you're giving those responsibilities to. At the current time, we have the ability to not even send our kids to school. We have the ability to teach our kids. Yes, there's a curriculum, but that's just basic, and you can. There's places where you can expand the educational process to whatever adheres to your family. But again, the question
right. So
isn't
that's what you.
is
So you don't need the
but
government for
yeah,
that.
but that's but the again, the problem isn't the current government isn't needed, or is it government needed? Because again, even if you go to what I'm assuming is your position as an anarchist, right? You want an anarchist system, um, regardless of what is happening. Typically, an anarchist system is what happens when a government is no longer trusted. Better yet, the people in that government is no longer trusted. And because of that, you separate from that government. Even in that situation, an anarchist system becomes a governing system because
Not
there
really.
are. Okay, so if we'll play the example game. If everyone in America decided that our government was shit and we did not agree with anything they were doing and we wanted a new start, we would start an anarchist revolution, basically, where we would revolt from our government and we would be on our own. That means that there's no longer anyone defending us. There's no longer any
You're
trade
defending
between other
yourselves.
countries. Okay, perfect. At that point, what
Why
is
wouldn't there
the
be any trade between other countries? There are still large companies who trade today. Why would that disappear? I don't get it.
because they would no longer be governed by any government or higher
So
up,
what?
so to speak, on what they do. So
So
that
what?
means
So,
that
so they can't make trade
okay,
deals then?
okay, again, at this point, you, Ed, are an individual. So how are you going to come upon this trade between other countries?
Wish.com. It's
Okay,
that fucking
uh,
easy.
well, that's the problem because it's not that easy because the governing systems that encompass both the countries that are involved in Wish and us um, are have trade agreements. They have price regulations. They have
Yeah,
etc.
exactly.
Shipping.
They
They have
impose
they have
tariffs.
they hang on
They
hang
have
on.
a
They
ton of
have
taxes on it.
shipping. Yeah, but they also have shipping treaties. All these things that make it
So what?
possible for you to get something from China.
But without the government, you could still have those trades. I don't see why you would magically not be able to trade with other countries without a government. That doesn't make any sense.
Because your government is what developed the infrastructure for you to do so.
No, they didn't develop anything. That's what
Wait, what?
companies who build those things develop.
So so
The
the internet
government, the
connection that we
government
have, but
itself, the government doesn't build anything. They hire companies who are specialized in those things to do it for
mhm.
them. Right.
Okay.
So
So
why
would
why
you
can't
say
you do
that
that?
because
Go ahead.
those companies are paid through the funding of a government?
Doesn't mean they
Let's
can't be
back.
funded
This is what we'll
otherwise.
do. How about we do this? How about we make it a little bit smaller for you so you can understand it a little bit better? You ever lived in an HOA, a homeowners association,
In the what?
like a homeowners association?
I've heard of it, but I'm not
Uh,
sure what it is.
yeah. It's a community of houses that are bought by individuals, but the
Okay.
community they live in
Hmm.
is monitored and managed by an association, essentially. For this matter, we'll call it a governing system, a system in which gives rules and regulates those rules within that community.
Okay, but you're
Okay.
free to live
Uh,
there or not.
yes, 100%.
It's
And
it's
again,
it's not
just
it's
like
not
in your
governing it's not governing a whole continent
again, you're right.
in your
But
case.
again, for the conversation that we're having right now, a the scale at which we're talking makes zero difference to whether or not it's a governing system or not. Because, like I said, or I said earlier, I was talking about earlier, down to the smallest scale of children at elementary school within their groups, they've developed a governing system.
That's
That's why
voluntary.
when I again, you're right, it is. And just like your example with the parents, you're under their guidance, even they're under someone else's guidance. At some point in time, you can leave their house and make your own rules
Right, that's
aside
just
from your
natural
parents'
development.
rules.
Living with your
Okay,
parents
but
and growing up with them and learning their stuff, that's just natural development. That has nothing to do with the government.
it absolutely does because you're raised within that governing system.
Right, and you can leave because you're going to leave naturally, and it's natural for
You don't have,
everyone to grow up in such a system. That's just how life is. That has nothing to do with the government system outside of that controls a whole country or larger things. That
it's the same thing, Ed.
no, it isn't.
There's no difference in there is no difference in the term governing system.
there's a huge difference in it being voluntary or not, and in it being a natural part of life or not.
Give me a voluntary. Give me an example because a child may have the choice to leave, but he doesn't have that choice until he's 18.
No, yeah,
And you said
that's
that was
what I
it.
mean. That it's a
You said that
natural part of life to grow
it
up
doesn't
with
matter
your
what's not.
with
Okay,
your
you're
parents.
right. You're right. I 100% agree with
That's
you.
separate from
It
the
is
government.
it is a natural part of life for a
Yes,
governing system to happen between multiple people. You're 100% right.
right. Go on.
There's no okay. Let me ask this. Maybe if I ask this question, it will be more clear to what you're trying to even say, because again, you brought up the left and the right and the governing and what they do and what you don't like that they do and that you don't have a choice, but you really do. The reality
No,
of it
no, you
is
don't.
this:
There's no
you
choice.
do.
No, you
So
don't.
Ed, you can't leave your country and live in another country.
That's still with the government. And why should I leave my
Not the same.
country? Why,
Okay.
it's still, hold on. It's still the government. It's still an involuntary government because you don't have really a choice other than choosing a location. It's just a different form of the same shit. It's still
Okay.
government. It's still
How about
involuntary.
this?
And
How about this?
yeah, go on.
You can go into international waters and buy an island, and that island you will govern yourself, and you are not under any governing system.
Right,
So you
but I
do
didn't
have a
have
choice.
okay, but I didn't have a choice in being born here. So why should I move across the earth just to go into a voluntary system when it could be a
Because you don't
voluntary
agree.
system? Because it could be a voluntary system where I live now. Why should I relocate instead of making things voluntary? It's so weird.
Okay, then define what a voluntary governing system is.
Well, you said like it's natural that people form like a hierarchical system, but that's voluntary. And like this community homeowners association, that's also voluntary. But you don't have to go to another country to change your homeowners association, for example.
You just move to a
So
different community.
that. What's that?
You just move to a different community.
Right,
I take my mic.
within the same within the same
Keep
region,
going.
probably. So isn't
No,
that a
you can
way
leave. You can
better
go move to it.
isn't that a way better voluntary system that I maybe have to drive 10 miles or maybe a bit more to find a new voluntary community instead of relocating to a whole different fucking country? What do you think is the
Again.
better option here?
It doesn't matter what the option is.
Now be realistic
In
about it.
life, I am being realistic about it. In
Well,
the
then
life
answer
that
the
we live
question, please.
right
What's the
now,
better option? Moving 10 miles or moving to another country,
I
like you
can try to
suggested?
answer the question, Ed. I could try to answer the question, but then you'd have
Okay,
to
go
let
ahead.
me talk. Thank you. You can. I lost my train of thought, but literally, he said that. Okay. Literally, no matter whether it's at the smallest scale or the larger scale, what's going to happen is a governing system is going to develop. Whether you move out of a homeowners association, whether you move out of your parents' house, whether you move out of your country. Now, the defining factor upon a governing system is the second you want to interact with other people's interests. If you live in an area, Ed, because remember, you don't want to leave. I don't know what where you live is lacking. I'm going to use when I lived in San Diego as my example. In San Diego, they are lacking on water resources. So what happens is they make deals with Colorado and Arizona to transfer water from dams and shit, and so that Southern California can have adequate water for survival. Now, as an individual, I can't make that deal with those states to get their water because I don't have the money or the infrastructure to get that water from their states to my property. So what I
Okay.
do is I trust that my government will make that deal with those states so that they can help us get water to so I don't have to move.
Uh-huh.
But for that to have happened, a
Yeah.
governing system is needed.
No, you just not necessarily, but you're still missing the fucking point. It has to be voluntary. you can move to a community that takes
You
care
were.
of the.
There's no voluntary.
You can.
There's
Hold
no.
You
on.
can.
Stop saying
You
that.
can.
Hold
You've
on.
already made
Hold
the
on,
example.
Sean.
There's no
Hold
voluntary
on, Sean.
situations because you weren't asked to be born.
You got to let Ed get his whole point out.
Right, and I wasn't asked to be born there exactly, so I need to have the option of choosing a community. For example, with this water supply thing, then if I don't want to take care of that myself, or I don't want to move to a whole new state, which is comparable to going to another country, basically in Europe, then I can choose a community that takes care of that for me. But that's
You're right.
voluntary. That's voluntary hierarchy. That's not a involuntary government system, which I'm born in and have absolutely no choice other than leaving the whole fucking country. And even then, I
Again,
don't really can't. And even then, I can't really choose anything voluntary, a voluntary system. Like you said, I have to move to some island in the middle of nowhere. That's ridiculous.
it may be ridiculous, but the reality is this: there is a life that you enjoy. For instance, the power, whatever you're drinking right now, the house you're living in. If it wasn't for a governing system, it would be a little difficult for you to get those things, and that's what helps survival make it a little easier. And I didn't get to finish my point before, but here's the crux of why a governing system is needed. That example I gave of California, Arizona, and Nevada for water. Um, Not only is it a factor of that being able to get that water, because again, we're talking about a state now. You've already established that state to state, we can consider countries. And in that situation, what is the people that live in those states that have those resources? What, why would they just give their water away? They're not going to do that. I know in a perfect ed world they do that, but the
What do you
reason that
mean?
we
Oh
have
no,
a
hold on. You're strawmanning me now. What do you mean in a perfect ad world I would give the water away? I never suggested that.
okay, okay, Ed's born. Decides he's leaving his parents' house. Ed lives in a
Okay.
world where there's no government.
Okay.
How do you establish protection, infrastructure, housing? I don't anything that you can possibly think of, Ed. How does that work for you? How do you make sure that what's yours stays yours? What you need to survive, you
Again,
get.
I can seek out a voluntary hierarchy system because,
Where?
you have these communities that you mentioned, the homeowner
Okay.
associations, and you can choose to live in one of those that takes care of those things for you. For example, it's just one example, and you don't need the government as a large involuntary system for that. You can choose your own location. It needs to be voluntary, and the reason it needs to be voluntary, first of all, is because that decides if things are going to improve or not. If it's not voluntary, there's no reason for the involuntary system to improve itself because it's involuntary anyway. If it's voluntary and it's crap, you can just leave and they go bankrupt, so they need to improve. That's why a voluntary system is always better. And I'm not saying you can get everything done without a system of hierarchy, but again, it needs to be voluntary. And you, for some reason, think it needs to be an involuntary government system, and I don't see why.
That's a straw man. Well, here's the problem with what you're saying, and it's very clear. I don't know if anyone else will hear it very clearly. There is literally no example of, or no difference in examples between a country's government and a homeowners association's government. It's a government. It's a governing system that a government is. A government is only a governing system with people in it. So again, I'm going to
But
make
it's
this
not
clear.
voluntary.
You no no look, let me make this.
The
It
difference
is.
is
It
that it's
is
not
voluntary.
voluntary.
No,
No, it
again,
isn't.
it is voluntary. Okay,
It
I'll explain
isn't.
how it's voluntary. So this is how it's voluntary.
Listen. If you're born in the United States, you can choose any homeowners association. You can't choose any government. So
Yes, I can.
that's
Yes,
already
I can.
false. No, because
Yes, I can.
you need to leave
Okay.
the country.
Now,
All right, hold on.
again, now I'll make this very clear to you. In the United States, Ed, not one fucking states agree with another state. And depending on the state you go to, is a different things at which you get to do. For instance,
Uh-huh.
in California, you get to smoke all the fucking weed you want, but you can't carry a gun. In Texas,
Uh-huh.
I get to carry a gun. So what I get to do is I get to decide which state I live in, along with what rules they have that abide to what I want. The same
That's
way, if
that's
you
still
live in a the
comparable to
same way,
leaving a
the
country.
same. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The same. Yes, it absolutely is. Because if I don't
I
agree with the
said it
United
is.
States
I
government,
said it is.
okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Then
So
there
that's
is
already going with
then
my argument
then
that you need
it's
to leave the
voluntary.
country.
Then it's voluntary.
But you
Then
need to leave the country. That's
yep.
ridiculous. You should
Okay.
be able
So
to choose voluntary within the area you already live, where you're born
you live on Earth.
involuntarily.
You live on
No,
Earth.
no,
Again,
no,
scale matters,
no.
Ed.
You're still missing the point. You shouldn't have to
No, I'm not.
relocate to another country to choose a voluntary system. And
Then you
in
shouldn't
this
want.
case,
Hey, then you shouldn't have to. Hey, then you shouldn't have to leave your homeowners association to get what you want.
why? That's only like 10 miles between places. That's within my area. That's
Again,
that's like
again. Okay,
that's
fine.
like walking distance. If I packed all
You're
the
right.
most
Hey,
important stuff,
okay,
I could walk there.
perfect.
That's the
You want me to
point.
give you an example? I'll give you a perfect example. Hey, moderator, I need you to be part of this for 1 second, please.
Ugh. What?
Could you get to Canada within 5, 10 minutes?
He lives
Uh,
near the border. Then
Hang on. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
that's a
no, I
But
stupid
can't.
argument.
okay, but you could. You could. It's very easy. You
He
could
could,
easily go into
yeah.
Canada
Well,
faster
guess
than
what? I live
Ed.
near the coast.
Ed.
I
Ed.
don't live
Again,
near
let's
any
make this Ed.
border.
All right,
Ed.
guys, you gotta
Let's make this very clear.
separate it.
Ed. Let's make this clear. Your decision on what distances is okay or not is irrelevant to whether or not we need government.
No,
There's
it
no
actually
difference,
has.
but there's no difference because in this conversation of governance
It
system
has
and
everything to
All
moving
right,
do.
let's.
and moving to a different system, there's no difference between moving across the street to a different HOA. There's no difference between moving to a different state. There's no difference
There
between moving
is.
to a different country.
There
No, there's
is.
not.
All
Yes,
right,
there
No,
is.
there's
let's
not.
let Ed respond to this. Go ahead, Ed.
And the difference is if I pack all my stuff and I can choose something within walking distance, I can do that whenever I want. And there's not one involuntary governing system. There's not one
Bullshit.
involuntary. There's not
Yes, there
one
is.
info. Hold on, just let me finish, man. I let you finish. So there's not one entire governing system that's involuntary that controls all these homeowners associations that has to adhere to the
Yes, there
government
is.
rules. Yes, that's what exists now. That's what I mean. But in a better system, it's all voluntary, and I can just walk to another community, so to speak, if I want to choose another one voluntarily. That's a way better system than having one involuntary system that controls a whole goddamn country.
We don't have a one involuntary system that controls the whole country. We don't,
Yes, you
Ed.
do.
That's what I'm
Yes, you
trying to get.
do.
Okay, you want to know how I know? This is exact.
One is
Now
per
I'm going to rebut
state,
to that.
and the
Let
other
All
me
is
right,
the
rebut to that.
federal
hold on,
I'm
government.
going
hold on,
to.
Ed.
I'm going to
Yeah,
rebut to that now.
let's
One
Sean
is per
respond.
state, the other is the federal government. So
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. Guess Ed. You said there's one federal,
one,
state,
one for the state, one for the
community,
federal. That's the whole
district.
thing.
No, again, there are a lot of levels of government, Ed.
That's the
That's what you need to
exactly,
understand. There's not just one.
and not one of them is voluntary, except these
You don't know what that.
homeowners
Explain to me
communities.
what this. Okay, explain to me what this voluntary and involuntary thing is, because you are saying you can't leave the United States, but you can, Ed. Just because Ed doesn't want to doesn't mean that's not part
I
of the
didn't
same
say
discussion that
I
we're
didn't.
having.
Yeah, I didn't say you can't leave the United States. The point is, even if
You
I
said you don't
don't,
want to.
Hold on.
yeah,
We gotta
but
let him get it out.
the point is, even if I don't want to be point of these homeowners associations and just want to live by
Oh
myself,
God,
and if that's my free
you
choice,
can.
because
You
that
can.
is my free. But in this case, I can't, because you're still
Yes, you
part
can.
of this. Because you're still part of this government system, and if you want to do business in any form, it needs to adhere to this all involuntary encompassing in a government system. So
Yep.
I don't see why
Ed,
you don't
does it make
understand
sense?
the difference.
Yeah, I do understand. I understand this. Does it make sense for Ed Frees to make deals and arrange ways to survive with 100,000 different people?
Why would I do that? Why would I need that?
Because if you didn't have a governing system to help you do those things, Ed, to survive, you would have to. Because all you keep saying to me is, I would just move to a different homeowners association. Fine, I would just move to a different country. And then you say, that's not the same thing. And it is.
Right, because it's still because in every country there's an involuntary government system. That's the whole point.
Okay, Ed. Okay, so what you want is you want a place where there are no rules, no laws, and nothing that fucking governs anything. Correct?
I want nothing to be involuntary about it. You
Okay.
can choose
Okay.
again.
I need
Hold
you to.
on,
I
hold
really
on.
need you to
Let me
answer my question
clarify.
because
Let
my
me
question is
clarify.
pertinent to your
Let
whole
me
thing.
clarify, Sean. Just let me
yeah, go ahead,
clarify.
Ed. Go
If
ahead.
you want to live in a system with hierarchy, then that's your choice. You can do
There's
that,
always a system. It's always.
and you should be able to choose any system you want and not be
You
stuck in
can.
a system you're born with or leave the
You
goddamn country
fucking
like you
can.
suggested. No, you can't.
Okay.
In
Let
this
me.
case,
Okay. Let's make this very
you need
clear
to
one more
leave the
time.
country.
Okay,
Go ahead.
let's make this again. Yes, you have to leave. If you're in the United States, to leave the federal the government, this system, you have to fucking leave it. If you don't like the state level, you leave the state. If you don't like the community, you leave the community. Ed, there is no difference. If you leave your community, you're going to another community that has rules. If you leave the country, you're going to another country that has rules. If you went to a country that had zero rules, and when you got there, someone decided that they wanted everything you fucking had, there would be nothing to protect you because you don't want a fucking governing system.
I can defend myself, right?
Not against the army.
If there's no government to make rules, I can have any
Again,
weapon I
now,
can have any.
Here's the problem,
Hold on. If there's no government to make any laws, I can have any gun I want. I can just have a machine gun. Come get my stuff. You're gonna get led.
You're right, 100%. But here's the problem: in
It's
your
called
system,
self-defense.
yeah, you're right, 100%. And in your system, you have the right to not have a governing system embody your life. Correct?
If that's your choice,
right?
That's your free choice.
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Go ahead.
Well, me, I decided that I love a governing system because my governing system protects my shit, and they have an army that stands behind them. So when Ed comes over and goes, "Hey, I need that water because I'm out of fucking water," in my community, my governing system says no. And Ed goes, "Well, I have a fucking gun and I need water, and because I'm on my own, and because you're on your own." Okay, fine, Ed, you're on your own. There's no governing system. You run out of water, and you know there's a lake 5 miles from you, and the people that live next to that lake don't give a fuck about Ed. They only give a fuck about them, and they want to make sure they have all the water they ever can have. Why would now? How would you come about getting that water? There's only two ways.
I would try to buy it, and if I'll go. And if I can't, I'll go somewhere else.
What if there's nowhere else, Ed?
What do you mean there's nowhere else? That's retarded.
I'll give you another.
I'll give you nowhere else?
Yeah, it's not. I'll give you the example right now, Ed. Southern California buys its water from Nevada and Arizona. They have no other choice to get their water from Arizona and Nevada because there's nowhere else to get the water.
Oh, really? There's not the entirety of the United States?
Yeah, it would. There's no other. California can't afford to get water from Michigan, and Michigan isn't interested in giving water to California.
Why can't they afford it? Why is that?
Because they don't want to. Because they don't want to.
No. Why can't they afford it?
Because they don't want to.
What do you mean they don't want to? That's such a dumb answer.
Okay, fine, Ed. Can they, in reality, can they make a water pipeline from the Great Lakes to California? Can they?
I don't know what it is. I don't.
Yes, the answer is yes. And it is possible to do a pipeline from one place to another place. But it is not beneficial to any of these states to do
Right.
that if it's so
Right.
far away. Just like you said,
Right.
Ed. So what they're going to do is they're going to go upon
No,
that lake that's right there.
why is it not
No, hang on.
beneficial to do
They're
that so
going.
far? I never said that it's not
Oh,
beneficial
okay,
to
okay,
do it
okay,
that far.
okay.
Well,
Because
why?
because California doesn't want to pay, and this is exactly why this is how it is. Because California doesn't want to pay to run a pipeline past other water sources when they can get that water source from a close place for cheaper. So why would they go get water from Michigan if they can get water from somewhere closer? And now here's the reason the governing
Yeah, but
system
you're
works
telling me
best.
they couldn't get
Because
it
the
from
governing
closer.
system, hang on, the governing
No, no,
system of
no.
those two states that supply
You,
water, those two
you
states, they make agreements with California to give
this
them
is
a
a
certain amount of
contradictory
water.
answer.
It's a
You're
governing,
contradicting
it's
yourself.
not.
You're
It's really not.
contradicting
Not at
yourself.
all.
Yes, you are,
How?
because in your scenario, you said the closest water source didn't give a crap about the other people and wasn't willing to sell it. So
It
why
depends.
are they sudden?
Now it changes. You're changing it. You're changing it.
Are they suddenly now willing to sell it? You're
Okay,
switching.
perfect. Perfect. Okay,
You're
now if you let
switching.
me go
This
down,
is
no, I'm
ridiculous.
not switching. I'm not switching. You're taking two things I
Yes, you
said and
are.
putting them together. Now I'll explain to you how you're wrong again. Here's and the situation I gave to you, Ed, was someone who didn't was not under there was no governing system, and someone lived near a water source, and
And
there
that
wasn't
means
another
someone's
water
not
source.
willing to sell. They're not
Again,
willing to
Ed,
sell to
if the
one
okay,
person
perfect,
because it's not
perfect,
a
yeah,
government
exactly, yep,
system.
yes.
That
You
you
don't,
think
Ed.
that you
You don't
think
get to
that's
Ed.
All
Ed.
right, guys,
oh,
you're
You
stepping
don't
on each
get to
other too much right
decide.
now. Hold on,
Again,
y'all,
you don't
y'all
get
are
Ed.
stepping on each other too hard. Just let
Okay.
try and get your point out, Sean, and then we'll give it to Ed to respond to it.
all right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Ed is taking two different examples and putting them together like I said they were the same. In the first example, where Ed does not have a governing system, and there is no governing system, and 5 miles away is a water source that Ed needs. But there's people that live there that feel that that lake is theirs and it's going to support only their family. Ed has two choices. Ed can make a deal with them, or Ed can try to take it. If there's more than one person, Ed's not going to have a good chance of taking it, so that's not a good idea. And if those people want an exorbitant amount of money that Ed doesn't have, Ed doesn't get that fucking water. So Ed would have to leave the country, leave the state, leave the vicinity of that area to find a source. The problem is that everyone else around those water sources may have already taken those up. And if they have a governing system, if they have a system that protects them, then Ed isn't going to get that fucking water. So what Ed would do, if Ed decided smartly, what Ed would do is he would join that governing system that does have a water source and adhere to their rules so that Ed could have water.
Okay, well, it's a false dichotomy to say that the only options are to buy from one source or take it from them by force. That's a government dichotomy because that's what the
Okay,
government
what's the
does.
other?
They
What's
give
the other?
you that's what the involuntary government does. They give you a
What is the other
proposal, and
option?
if you disagree, they take it by force.
What are the
So
other options then, Ed?
I can buy somewhere else.
Again, what if someone it's going to be this if you go somewhere else, it's going to be the same situation you dealt with the first time. You may not be able to get that water
Why
and you
would
may
it
have to
be
move on
like
and get
that why would it be like that everywhere? Why would every area with water, why would every company
you don't know.
that pumps water, why would they all deny me as a customer? Why would they deny single people looking for water as a customer? You think that drives business? You think that does anything? You think companies are gonna shoo customers away? This is such a ridiculous scenario.
Yeah,
You're
because
not.
this is exactly what would I'll give you an
It's an
example exactly what
unrealistic
would happen.
scenario.
It's not unrealistic because this is what happens. If you live in San Diego and there's no water and suddenly there's no governing system, if Nevada at any point in time goes, hey, wait, matter of fact, it's an example of what's happening now. Nevada is going through a severe drought. If at any point of your scenario they decided that what they wanted to make sure they had enough water to make sure that their state had that water, all they have to do is cut off California. But because of the governing system that made those deals, they have the opportunity that they're not going to just cut us off or California off for no reason. Again, let's make it very, very clear.
Why would
In
they
your
cut you off
choice,
for no reason? Why would they cut customers off for no reason? You're not give. If you say it's for no reason, then you're just making up a magical scenario. Please give the
okay,
reason as to why you would be cut off.
because you, Ed, okay, you, Ed, living in California, you do not pay Nevada to supply you water. You pay towards your state's taxes, and that state's taxes pays Nevada for their water. If without a governing
Yeah,
system, that's gone. So then you have to go into
right.
negotiation with Nevada. Nevada is
Not
more
really.
likely going to give a fuck about their Nevada's going to give a fuck about their people more than they're going to give a fuck about Ed. And when they say, Ed, how are you going to get the
They're
water that you
already
need in
selling
your
it
state?
now. That doesn't make any sense. They're
We
already
live in a
selling it
governing
now.
system, Ed, we live in a governing system right now. I'm talking about in your fucking
But
world. In your world
but
where there's no
if
governing system.
if there wasn't enough water or energy or whatever the fuck your example was, if there wasn't enough of that to sell, then why are they selling it now in the first place? And why the hell wouldn't they still sell it to make profit as a business when there's no governing system? This whole
Perfect.
scenario doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense whatsoever.
yeah. What your scenario doesn't make sense. And this is exactly how it works. Nevada has a very bad drought.
Can
California
you
gives them
please
money
answer
to
the
pump
question?
water. I am answering it, but you have to listen first. If Nevada is running low on water, and the reason why they don't just cut California off is because of the deals that the governing systems have made with each other, where they are either trading or they are loaning, whatever, regardless of
Okay.
it. As
Okay.
a whole, they have the ability to make sure that the people of that whole state, that whole community, that whole homeowners association, doesn't fucking matter, has what they need because of the deals they've made with another governing system.
They can still
Ed
have
by him,
they
Ed
can
by
still have
himself. I know
contracts.
you were just waiting for me to breathe, but I'm not done. I know you're waiting for me to breathe. I'm not
No,
done.
just this
But
one
Ed,
point doesn't make any sense.
Ed by himself is not going to have the same advantages if he has a governing system with his surviving
Okay.
in mind at
Okay.
hand
Cool
with
story.
those deals. That's why
Okay.
it's ability to have that.
Okay. Fair. Very nice. So what you're saying is, even if they have a drought and they're not really able to sell the water, they should be taking care of themselves because if there's a drought, and if they would still sell it, they would have problems themselves. They would, according to you, because they have this contract with this government system, they would still need to sell their water, even though they have a drought, and selling the water is gonna cause problems for them. Because that's what you said. If they have a drought and they cut off the water, why would they cut off the water if they have enough, right? And why would they still
Again,
be forced to sell if they don't have enough? Because that's what's going to happen in
again,
your scenario, right? You
no,
said it.
again,
They have a
this is
drought, or
okay.
they have a drought, and they're going to cut you off. So that means
Again,
they don't have enough. That's why they cut you off, right?
again,
Did
again.
they
You
cut you
you
off
need to
because
make
they don't
sure.
have enough or not? Yes or no?
Again, you need to make sure you listen to what I'm saying
Do
because you
they cut?
clearly aren't.
Did they cut you off
Again,
because they didn't have enough
they
from
do
the
not
drought?
the reason they do not cut California off from the water is between deals and trades that they have and the
You're not
fact that they
answering.
have an agree. I am
No, you're
the
not.
fact that they have the fact that they have an agreement to supply California with a certain amount of water, and
Okay,
because
cool
of the
story.
deal that they have.
You're not answering the question. The question was very specific. In your scenario, when they cut you off because there was a drought, which was the example what you gave, is that because they don't have enough water?
I will answer the question when you stop taking two different examples and putting them together like I said it was
That's
one.
what you
How
just
about that,
gave
Ed?
as an
No, I
example.
didn't.
For
I
yes,
gave an
you said
example
that
as I gave an
you
example.
gave
Okay,
the
Ed,
hold on.
Ed,
I'm gonna
zip
repeat
it,
the
zip. No, no,
example.
I'm not gonna
I'm
hold
Hold
gonna
on
on.
because this
I'm
whole
gonna
time,
repeat
every time I stop talking for
I'm gonna
you,
repeat
you
the
just straw
example.
man my position and
All
put
No,
right,
two
let's
examples together.
hold
no,
on.
So I'm gonna do
Hold
this
on,
again
guys.
I'm
so
gonna
that you
steel
don't
man this
fucking do that.
example, and you tell me if
Just
No,
it's
I'm gonna
correct.
go ahead and do this. No, no, you're not. You're not going to
No,
just be on the Ed talk
hold
rant. I
on,
don't
hold
give a
on,
fuck.
guys.
I'm gonna
this
say
is
my.
Hold
I'm
ridiculous.
going
on.
to say my position. You're not gonna steal man it.
Hold
That's how we're
on,
gonna go.
guys.
You're gonna
So
switch
again,
it.
In one example, I gave a reason for why Nevada does not just cut people off of water, even though they are in a drought. And this is current knowledge.
So why would they cut them
And
off in the
then
drought?
in the
Because
situation
they don't
of
have
the
enough
fact that
water?
we need it, then in the fact of needing water is the reason that we were able to make trades and agreements to get a supply of water from Nevada.
You're doing it again.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you're doing it again. So in your
No, I'm not, Ed.
example, where you would otherwise be cut off because they have a drought, does that mean they don't have
I
enough
did
water?
not say they're cutting anyone off because they're in a drought. I'm saying the reason. I'm saying the reason. No, I'm not going to hold on. I'm not going to hold on at all because I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to make it very clear to you because you keep strawmanning my position and it's getting ridiculous. No, there's no clarification. You're not going to clarify my point to me.
Yes, it's the logic. You need to
fuck you. I'm done then. I'm not done. No, I'm not going to let him strawman my argument so he can clarify my argument. I'm going to clarify my argument so you can stop playing that game.
Okay.
No, I don't. I need to. I'm going to clarify exactly what I mean because you don't get it. You don't understand it at all. So in this, if I'm going to do it anyway, I'm just going to start because I'm going to now. In the situation of a state, Nevada has the interest for the people in its states, and because of the fact that it has those interests, I'm done. If I'm not going to be able to finish this, then I'm done, Ed, because I'm not going to let you play this game. I'm not going to play your DC Hall.
Okay, you guys gotta chill. You're both muted. Just chill. You're both muted. Just relax. Ed, just let him finish, and then you can go and clarify.
I let him finish a billion times.
Babe, can you hand me a cigarette?
I need to be able to apply his logic. He's not allowing me to. This is ridiculous. All right. So what you said was that these governing bodies make deals, and therefore they're not going to cut you off when they have a drought.
In the example of
that implies,
the droughts, I don't give a fuck about your steel manning my position. I'm going to give you my position. I'm sitting right here. I'm not going. I don't care. You're right. It is insane. You're not going to tell me my position. I'm going to tell you my position. That's how it's going to work.
All right,
you're right. It is.
If that's what's going to take, just Ed, let Sean wrap up his position.
I let him do that 3 times already. He's not.
And every time I do it, you play your fucking game, so I have to repeat myself. So I'm going to repeat myself. I'm not going to let you steel man my position, so you can clarify my position to me.
My sentence, dumbass.
You've done it a dozen times, and I'm going to finish mine then, because you keep strawmanning mine. So I'm going to finish it. In the example of a drought happening in Nevada, the state of Nevada has its people in its interest. And because of that, they know how much water they're going to need. They know how much infrastructure and money it takes for them to survive. And in doing so, they're going to fuck you, Ed. I'm done.
Seriously. He said this so many times, and I'm just going to address it now. I'm going to try to at least. So, what you said was these governing bodies have deals, and in the case of a drought, they're not just going to cut you off, which implies that otherwise, when there was a drought without a governing system, they would cut you off. Why would they cut you off? Because they don't have enough water?
Because the interests of their people matter more than Ed.
Okay.
The reason those deals are there is because there's a governing system that represents the people of one state and the people of the other state. And without that deal, guess the fuck what? Okay, you're not going to let me. No, I'm done, Dennis Rad. I'm not playing this game with him anymore.
No, you already said this. You already said this, Jan. You already said this. Oh, he really left. This is... Race with.
Well, we'll move to closing arguments now. Since Sean is not here to give his, go ahead, Ed.
No, he needs to rejoin. This is pathetic. I'm going to tag him in Discord. But this goes with my point perfectly. Under his system, he said they have a governing system that made a deal, which means they're not just going to cut you off when there's a drought. Okay, but if there's not if there is a drought and there's not this governing system, they would cut you off because they don't have enough water and need to take care of themselves first. So this implies that he wants you to sell your water anyway, even if you're in a drought and don't have enough to take care of yourself, because you're under this governing system and they made a deal, so you need to sell it. That's the whole argument here, and he wouldn't let me get it out. I couldn't apply the logic. He kept, well, you know what happened, but seriously, what?
Is he responding? I can't leave the screen right now.
I tagged him just now.
Well, I'll give this time to let everyone know that if you want to be in a debate, there's a link for the Discord right below the YouTube here. You can join us there. You can also go over to the main Medicinal Mass Media YouTube channel where we have our regular daily live stream and all sorts of other events. You can see our Tim Pryor saga on that channel. Yeah, if you know somebody you want to debate, you know a flat earther you want to prove wrong, go ahead, call them out, bring them over to the Discord, and we'll get a fight going. Alrighty. Well, we made it to 50 minutes before Rage quit.
Yeah, sorry for the typing. I didn't realize I didn't mute. But I told him I'd go on mute for 1 minute. So we'll see.
Okay.
He said I'm purposefully trying to trigger him. That's bullshit. That's
You
not what I'm trying to do.
literally are.
No, I'm not.
And this is exactly how it is. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna say what I have to say, and if you cut me off, I'm going to leave, and I'm not going to come back because I'm not interested in your hostage fucking trigger tactic. It's bullshit, and it's fucking pathetic, Ed, and I'm over it. It's very fucking pathetic. Anyway, like I was fucking saying,
in the mirror.
Your whole point of not needing a government, and then your argument of I just want the choice to be able to choose where I live in their rules is a fucking governing system. In a situation where there is no governing system for states wise, Nevada is not obligated to make deals with California. They don't have to. The reason they're able to speak for the millions of people in each state and make those deals is because of that governing system. Otherwise, it would be millions of people in one state trying to make individual deals with other people in another state. Those companies you talk about are regulated and they do trades and they sell to other states because of the governing fucking trades and agreements they have. The governing system is there regardless of not you fucking like it or not. And your idea that you don't want to leave a country, but you want to leave a different area is the same situation. If you go and look for water and you come up across some people and their price is too high or they don't want you to have that water, your decision to go move on to another area that has water is the same thing as you just seeking out and a governing system that you agree with.
Are you there? Just want to make sure. All right. Well, I never said I only wanted to be able to choose one of these voluntary hierarchies, but that's a large part of it because that's mainly what your example was about. So that's what I addressed. I also said you should be able to choose none of them. Someone's hot micing and go live on your own. Whoa. Sean, I think you're hot micing. Please, it's very loud. Please mute. Or just stop moving in your chair, old man. Anyway, where was I? You mentioned the communities specifically. So that's why what I addressed. But I also said you should be able to not pick any of those and just go live by yourself. And you can still go buy things from companies. And your whole argument that that all these companies that provide water, that sell water, would all deny you as a customer, that's just such an unrealistic scenario, because how would they ever get customers if they all do that? And the other thing was, I'm not sure if you heard it when you left. In your scenario, the governing system had deals with Nevada, so they needed to sell them the water regardless of if they had a drought or not. Because your example was, if they have a drought, they won't cut you off, implying that they would cut you off in case of a drought because they need to take care of themselves first. And that implies that under your governing system that you want, they need to be able to sell it regardless of if they can take care of themselves or not, because that's what the deal was. And you said even that they won't just cut you off if they have a drought. So isn't that insane? That's what I mean by things that are involuntary are a serious problem. And it shows, because this is just one example. I don't even know if it's really the case, but there are much more things like this going on with not just water. Not sure where to go from here, but I'll go on mute.
In the example that you just said alone, if you had a bottle of water, one bottle of water, and 50 people came up to you and said, "I want water," would you share it with them, or are you going to make sure that that last bottle of water that you don't know where to get water from, you're going to keep for yourself for your survival?
Why would a company only have one bottle?
It's not the question I asked.
No, but that's you said in my example, and you were addressing my example. So where in my example did I say I'm going to a company that only has one bottle of water and I'm demanding that they sell it to me?
Okay. And for the example of California, Nevada, any water that's in Nevada, any water company in Nevada gets their water from Nevada. So regardless, I don't think you've said that. I think we both understand that if Nevada's governing system decided that they didn't have enough water, that they would stop the companies from giving their water away if they were worried about it that much, if the governing systems didn't have a deal with each other. Okay. Because again, the main point of it is that because of these deals, Nevada agrees to not only care about themselves. That is all the agreement does. Without that agreement, Nevada gets to do whatever Nevada wants with their water. Why would they do it? Okay. For the betterment of Nevada.
Okay, so and then why should they be forced to sell? And what prevents this other state from seeking water supplies elsewhere? It's such a ridiculous scenario. You're again implying that there's only one water source available to buy from, and if they deny you, then you're basically fucked. That's so unrealistic. That doesn't even happen now, except for when you're under this governing system who decides for you what your main source where you can buy is going to be. And in this case, you're going to have problems then. You can't go anywhere else. So even if Nevada doesn't have a drought and they can still supply it, but let's say something happens with the whole supply system, you're going to be screwed anyway, because you have no other options. And in a voluntary system, you will have other options regardless, because maybe you are only getting water from Nevada, but your neighbors or some community, maybe even 10 miles away, or maybe even 100 miles away instead of like 1,000, it has water from another state, and you can buy it from them temporarily until this problem's solved. I'm just giving an example. It's way better than what you're having now, and it's all voluntary. which means it won't be as
Yeah,
expensive as well. It won't be as expensive because you decide
it will be
which
more.
you're going to buy. No, it won't be more
Again, it would be
expensive.
more. It would
No,
be more expensive because you would.
impossible.
It would be more expensive.
There's a delay,
It
Sean.
would be.
Relax.
Go ahead, Sean. There is
There's
a seems to be
there's
a
a
5-second delay.
no worries. There is it would the price would go up primarily be because there's no governing system to regulate a price on it. It'd be the same thing as that water company feeling that uh, their water is worth $100, and you going, I don't have 100, and them going, well, that's too bad, which is exactly what companies do now, regardless. A governing system is a simple way for millions of people, was to say, because there's millions of people in each state, to be able to coexist and have what they need to survive. Again, if your family, as an example, your family being one state and another family being another state, your resources that keep your family alive are going to be your priority. At some point, if that other family has stuff that you want and you have what they want, you guys are going to make a deal. That is two governing systems making a deal with each other for the betterment of each other. Now, if one of them runs out of a resource, the other side is obligated to go, well, if you can't make the deal, then we don't have a deal anymore. Or well, we'll help you until you guys get back on your feet. And because
Can
of
we
the
address one thing at
infrastructure,
a time?
and because of and the no, I am, and because of
No, you're
the
not.
infrastructure that a government, and because of the infrastructure that a government brings, the ability to make trades is much easier than doing it as an individual for yourself.
Okay, so the reason why the price wouldn't go up, that's the original point. You moved way away from that. So I want to move back to that. The reason why the price wouldn't go up is because right now you don't have any choice. You need to accept the deals that the governing systems made for you, and it doesn't really matter where you move across the state. You're still stuck. Can you just stop doing it? So you're still stuck with those deals. You have no choice. And in a voluntary system, you can choose whatever company you want. So even if one company says, I only sell the water for $100, there's going to be another company who says, well, you don't have to pay $100, mine is 99. And that's just two companies competing. There's hundreds, thousands of companies. So it won't be the price won't be going up as much as you think. It actually will be going down, and things quality will improve. Because if one company doesn't have the quality you like, you can seek another company that does have that quality. For example, you can't do that now. If the state made a deal and the quality is crap, like what happened in several states where the water supply is absolute garbage, you can't choose to have your water supply coming from somewhere else. You're stuck with that state deal. You're stuck with that governing system. So again, having it voluntary is again the better option, cost wise and quality wise.
Well, currently under this governing
Stop
system,
sighing,
we
old
have the
man. Come on.
ability we have the ability to go to any store and buy a variety of different water suppliers water that varies in prices. And in some states, which you can choose to go live in, you can collect your own water and say fuck those companies altogether. So again, the price does go up if supply goes down.
Why would supply go down? That doesn't make any sense.
Perfect. I'm happy you asked that question because the exact thing you said, if you don't like the water situation in one area, you move to another. Well, if one area has a lot of water, then everyone's going to go there. Supply, demand.
Okay, and
I don't know.
now
I'm
what?
still waiting for you to make a point of how government is not needed.
I already gave several examples as to why you would have better options with a voluntary system. Every example you gave mine was better when it was voluntary because the price goes down and the quality improves, and there's actual accountability. And also, you don't get stuck with an entire system you just happen to be born in. And if you don't like it, you need to basically move out of the country. So I'm still waiting for you to give an example as to why we do need this all-encompassing governing system.
Okay, I'll give it to you right now because we have millions of people that live in an area, in different areas in one country that don't all agree with each other and that don't have all the resources that they need. And so that these states need governing systems so that everyone can individual thing.
You got out. The last sentence got out.
They do it. The governing system makes it so that a million people don't have to make a million deals with individual people.
Okay, but you said the first thing you said perfectly addresses why you shouldn't have an all-encompassing governing system. You said there's a million people who all disagree with each other, which means they should all have the option to voluntarily choose what they want, where they want it from, and if they want to live in a voluntary hierarchy like these communities you gave as an example, then fine, they can do that and have someone else take care of that for them. That's their choice. That doesn't mean they need an all-encompassing government system that decides it for a million people at the same time. Because as you said, they all disagree on things. So then why have one
Yeah, but
person? So then why have one person decide for everyone that is going to be the same? Then you're going to have a lot of people who disagree regardless. And if you all let them do it voluntarily, then the majority is going to be happy because they get to choose instead of them all being stuck with
I
this
want
one
to
view.
clarify one thing that's very important. I am talking about a governing system, not a communist government. Again, I figured you would do that. I don't give a fuck about left, right, communist, left. Right, I don't give a fuck about that. I'm talking
When
about
did I say
just pure
communist?
basic governing. When you said led by one person, ruled by one person, you just said that.
Yeah, because you have like a president, right? And from
Yeah,
in all the states, and in
we
all the
have
states, and in all the states, you have like one what's it called, governor or whatever it is in the states.
representatives. Yes, we have representatives from the president down to the state, down to the district, down to the community, down to the school, down to
How
your
many?
family. There's
How
a
many?
governing system that runs,
How
there's
many?
a governing system that thousands.
No, I mean like for example for the state, and then for example for the county, and then for
Okay,
whatever.
for a state, there is, I believe, three. I don't know.
Three. And
Okay,
how many
it
millions
doesn't.
live
Hang
in
on,
one
hang on.
state
No, wait, wait,
on
wait. I'm
average?
going to fin. I'm going to finish. Again,
How many
I'll
millions live in
start
one
from the low.
state?
I'm going to start
Hold
from the
on,
lower
Ed.
scale
Hold on,
so
Ed.
you understand how it works. Myself as a individual, I can vote for the community I live in. I can vote for the person who is going to betterment my life here. This community
It's not a
then
voluntary system.
represents me. Yes, it is. I volunteer to fucking live here. wasn't born here, Ed. Then
Bullshit.
that my community then talks to the county that I live in, and they represent me when they talk to the county, and that county represents me when they talk to the state. The
No, they
state
don't.
represents me when they talk to the federal government, and the
No, they
federal
don't.
government speaks, and the government works for me. See how that
No,
works? Chain of
no.
command.
They don't, because they don't just work for you. They don't just represent you. It's not just you. You represent
You're right,
yourself.
Ed.
All
You're
those
right,
other
Ed.
people,
You're right,
all
Hold
those,
Ed.
on,
all
Sean.
those,
Again,
all
Ed.
the
Hold on, Sean. Let Ed get his whole point out.
right. Thank you. So you represent yourself. The county person represents the whole county. So that's going to be like at minimum 1,000 people. They're all gonna have different opinions of each other. Then there's this next level that's going to be the state. How many millions of people live in one state? They're all going to disagree. They all have to follow this same governing system, and then it goes to the federal government, and then it's how many people live in the United States? Like 330 million. So then that's 330 million people who all have to live by this by that governing chain of command. So you're right, there are a chain of command, but none of them are voluntary, and all of them encompass a large portion of the population. And if you say they're representing you, no, you represent you, and all those other layers represent more and more and more people. And you already said 1 million people are all going to disagree with each other. So why then have like 3 people, as you said, for one state govern millions of people?
That's not what I meant.
We're all going to
The
disagree.
best part about it is, Ed, if you were to not have cut me off when I was explaining that, then you would have understood what I meant.
I never cut you off.
That's why when I started over and said I'm going to start on the lower scale for Ed, that's why I did that. And let me make this very clear. The reason why me as an independent lets my community represent me is because I'm happy with everything this community does to keep my life going and my happiness. And so I have voluntarily allowed them to represent me for the county.
No, you
I
didn't.
agree with the way the county works. Yes, I did. I did because I live here. Again, let me make this very clear.
You didn't decide.
A governing system between states, between the representatives that represent whoever they're representing, are only representatives so that a large group don't have to individually pick what they want. They represent a whole. A governing system is a way for groups of people with different thoughts to still get the betterment of survival for them. You saying that it's not voluntary is wrong. The same way I can volunteer to live in this community is the same way you can volunteer to live in any state you want, and for that matter, any country you want. And if you don't like that you have to move somewhere that has a government, you can get enough fucking money, Ed, and go to international waters and buy an island where you will start your own fucking government and tell people who decide to come there the rules that you decided when you form a governing system.
Okay, I already addressed all of that in the beginning of this debate, so I won't go over it again.
Yeah, well, you didn't do it very well.
You can just scroll back, but I'm going to address something else you said just now. Well, I did do it very well. You had no rebuttal, but anyway, you said you said you can vote and then decide who gets to represent you. No, you don't.
I never said anything about voting.
No, hold on. Yeah, yes, you did, and you don't get to decide.
Not once.
You don't get to decide who represents you. You have to follow the mob. You have to follow the mob rule. The mob rule. The majority decides who gets to represent you because the majority vote is the one who's going to represent you. So you don't get to decide who represents you at all. You just need to be lucky. You follow the same opinion as the rest of the group, and as you already said, if you have a million
if I don't,
so can I finish? Can I finish? So can I finish my point, please? So can I finish my point?
Yeah.
So I lost the fucking point. Thanks, dickhead. Anyway, I'm going to start over then. So you say you get to represent, you decide who represents you, but you don't. You need to be lucky.
I never said that.
You need to be lucky. Yes, you did. You need to be lucky that you have the same opinion as the majority, and then you apparently so-called decide who gets to represent you. It's luck-based. But you also said if you already have 1 million people, they're all going to disagree with each other. So then why even have this system where one or a few select people get to represent you, and you need to be lucky that it follows your opinion based on mob rule? It doesn't make any sense. Why not just have a voluntary system?
Because
like a true voluntary system.
Okay, because we have learned that 1 million independent ideas do not work together. So what we have decided as a society is to develop a governing system so that a majority of interests can be met, along with the opportunity to decide if you want to be engaged in that governing system.
That's
You
wrong.
are voluntarily,
You don't
again,
have a
it's not wrong.
choice.
You are
We don't have a
voluntarily,
choice.
you do have a fucking choice, Ed. You can leave your country if you fucking want to. You can leave your community, you can leave your
That's
state,
not a
you can leave
choice.
wherever the fuck you
That's an
fucking want.
ultimatum.
Yes, it
That's an
is.
Hold on.
ultimatum.
Yes, it is. It's
Stepping
a
on each
fucking
other.
choice.
That's
Just
an
stop stepping on
ultimatum.
each other.
A
Okay.
choice. It's a fucking choice. I choose to live here or not. I choose to
Sort of
move or
reason.
not. I choose to agree with what the government system is doing around me or not. If I don't fucking like it, I choose to stay there or I choose to leave.
Okay, that's an ultimatum. It's ridiculous.
No, it's not. No.
Free choice. Free
Me
choice.
deciding for me is not an ultimatum. Them deciding for me is an ultimatum.
But
They
they
do not
do decide.
decide if I stay or I go. I decide.
You're missing the point. Even if you stay,
Open
you
up
need.
open up a dictionary and learn what an ultimatum is. I
You're
do
missing
not
the
give
point.
myself an ultimatum when I decide if I want to be somewhere.
You're missing the point. You're still
Sorry,
under.
buddy, you're wrong.
You're missing the point.
No, you
You're
Hold
are.
on, Sean. You
so
gotta let Ed respond here.
yeah. You're still under the same United States government. This is going back to the whole beginning of the debate,
I can leave
where
the
I said,
country.
yeah. So again, this is going back to the whole beginning of the debate. When you said indeed you can leave the country, which is not really a choice.
Yes, it is.
what
Wait the fuck, that is insane. I
what
can
the
give you
better.
names of people that in this
So I
community
wasn't finished.
that live
I
in
wasn't
Canada
finished. I
on
wasn't
their
finished.
choice.
I wasn't
Fucking
finished.
bullshit. Stop
I wasn't
lying.
finished.
Stop
I
making
wasn't.
bullshit allegations.
But I
That's
wasn't
crap.
finished. Oh my god, this is so ridiculous. Just let me finish, Sean.
It is. You can't leave the country. They won't allow it. Bullshit, they do. You're allowed
It's
to. I can move to
not
Canada if
what
I
I said.
fucking want to, Ed.
Let's
Not
let
what I
Ed
said.
Yes, it is.
finish it.
No,
Let's let
it's
Ed
not what
finish
I
his
said.
point he's making.
I said that's not really a choice. If you're born somewhere, you don't have a choice in where you're born, right? So why should I leave the whole country just to be able to choose a community that I like? That's ridiculous. I should be able to choose a community based on my free choice everywhere. And in this case,
You
I
are
can't
allowed
really
to do that.
no, because I'm
You can
still
move
under
anywhere you fucking want, Ed.
because
Hold on.
I'm still going to be under the same governing system from the government I was born in. Otherwise, I would need to leave the country. I don't have a choice. I don't see why you don't get that. The better choice would
Because
be
you
if you
have a
the better
choice.
the better choice would be if you can voluntarily choose the community, or you can opt out of those things. And right now, for example, where you live, you can't say I'm going to opt out of this state governing system. I'm just going to follow the community.
Motherfucker, I did it. I left California
But you're
by
living
my
in
own choice
you're
and
living
moved
in
to
a state.
Texas.
That's another state,
Yep.
dumbass.
Yep.
So you can't.
Let's
Yeah, guess what?
let's
Okay. Now how about this? How about
stop
this,
the
Ed?
name
How about
calling,
this?
guys.
I know
Can you?
someone, you know Chode over in Jim Pandas? Chode,
Okay.
she's an American that
Okay.
chose for no reason besides wanting to
Okay.
move to Canada. She now
That's another
resides in
state.
Canada.
That's
What you're
another state
saying
slash
is
country.
wrong.
That's another
That's
state
a different
slash
country.
country.
It's a completely different government.
Yeah, but still a governing system, which is involuntarily
Yeah, good.
on the max level.
Good. A governing
Yes.
say, Ed, the reason you live in that house right now, the reason you have lights, the reason you have running water, your neighbors have running water, etc., and you know you're going to do it when you turn that knob, is because you have a fucking government.
No, this was built by a housing corporation, and the whole thing
Yeah,
was done.
yeah,
And the whole
funded by a government.
no, not
Wait,
no, not
wait, wait,
necessarily. You're missing
wait.
you're
So
missing the
you're
point.
the
I said
place
I
you
said
live
not
in
I
doesn't
said not
supply you with
necessarily.
water.
Yes, yeah,
Shut up,
sure.
Ed. You don't even know what you're talking about now, Ed. It's just
Sure,
ridiculous.
sure
I don't
it
know why
does.
you're doing this.
Sure, it supplies water. I didn't say it didn't supply water. What?
Okay, so the company that made the house, that put the pipes in, that connected to the city water or county water or whoever the fuck how you say it, is the
Yeah.
reason a governing system, it benefits you, because without them, you don't have a main water system to tap off of for that company to give you water.
You're missing the point.
Jesus fucking no, you're missing the point, Ed.
They could still make deals with some water company to have that supply to them without the all-encompassing government.
You don't
That's
understand construction, Ed. That's not true. It costs too much.
what do you mean that would cost too much? You
Okay,
think
I'll give
there's
you a perfect example.
hold on,
I'll give you a perfect
I'm
example.
not
You
I'm
just
not
asked me a
finished.
question. I'm going to answer.
I'm not
Let
finished.
he, hold
I'm
on,
not
Perfect
Johnny.
finished.
example
Mike.
is this.
I'm not
In
finished.
construction,
I'm not finished.
in construction,
It's not going to be one
we find
community.
a source of
It's
water.
not going to be
If
one
it is it
community.
easier for me? Yeah, I'm going
Oh
to tell
my
you right now exactly how that works. If I have a
uh-huh.
source of water, I'm going to tell you, if I
Yeah.
have a source of water and
Okay.
I decide, do I want to sell this water to independent people, or do I want to charge the city, the government, to build one central line that runs through the whole area? And then the city can charge whoever the fuck they want, you, Ed, Demon Stride, me, whatever they want, to tap into that water. Which is more cost effective for the company?
So to finish my point, it's
All
not
right.
going to be.
If you're not, I answered your question. If you're gonna
I'm
just ignore
going.
it, then we're done.
No, I'm not
We're done.
ignoring it,
I'm done.
but
This is just going
I
in.
need.
Yes, you are.
I
This is going in
no.
circles now. I'm done.
I
It's
need.
Hold
I
on,
over.
need.
John.
I need. I
We'll
need to
wrap it up in
preface.
a minute here, but Ed was in the middle of a
Yeah.
statement slash question before.
I need to preface my answer with elaborating on my previous point, which you wouldn't allow me to. So it's not just going to be one community or one block of housing corporation that's going to need water. It's going to be a lot of them, and they can still all come together and make deals with each other to have this supply to them by this company through one pipeline or through multiple pipelines or whatever the example is. It doesn't matter. They can all make deals with different companies regardless. They can all seek out the best company. They can all seek out the most cost effective way because they have the freedom of choice, which means there's free competition, which means they're all going to compete with each other and they're all going to compete to deliver the best quality for the lowest price. And so there's not really going to be that much issues with cost. I think that elaborates my point and answers your question at the same time.
Perfect. Being in the business of construction, I'm going to I'm going to correct where you don't understand situation. Now, let me explain this to you. Um, Having a source of water does not guarantee shit. It takes money, it takes time, and it takes infrastructure to be able to build a water source for a multiple communities, for that matter. Now, understand this: it would cost more because coming out of my pocket to build a line that comes to my house, I would have to pay out of my pocket full price. What a government system does, it makes it so everyone pays their fair share and everyone gets to put a little bit into a big pot, which means when the city, that governing body, pays a company to make a main water line from a water source through multiple counties, through a state, doesn't fucking matter. What happens is this: instead of me going, how much should I try? It's not going to cost me. It should cost. If it's going to cost me $100,000 to get water to my house, how come it costs $20,000 for him to get water to his house? That's not fair. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to make a deal. Well, that's another million people making a bunch of individual deals that aren't going to probably work out. What the governing system does is it takes a little bit from everybody. And yes, Ed, before you even try to do it, our governing system, the people in the governing system right now are shit. It's not a governing system we're talking, the people in government we're talking about. We're talking about a governing system, just the system. So again, let me preface, let me correct you very, very adequately. To build a water source that gets to my house would cost me way too much money. So I pay a little bit in to a structure that will pay for it all because they've taken a little bit from everybody. And that is how you get a water system through communities because it would cost way too much to take the money out of everybody's pocket. The money being dividended to do so would be extravagant. It would cost way too much. This is what I don't think you understand about how governing systems work. They make life easier for a lot of people that live in the same area. So they don't have to constantly move, Ed.
Okay, so I already addressed this specifically. You can choose. You're assuming that all those millions of people living in cities right now, they're all going to individually decide who connects the plumbing to their house or something. But you're forgetting one key point. For example, in my situation, we're all living under this same housing corporation. So we can choose to move to another part of the city where there's different housing corporation, for example. They can all
I'm so over this. Oh
no,
my fucking god, Ed!
I
I
need
don't
to,
give
I
a
need to
fuck,
address.
dude.
Sean,
If you don't
Leaving the
give a fuck,
country,
if you
moving
don't
to a
give a
different
fuck,
government
go
is the
mute.
same thing.
Go mute. Go
Fuck.
mute, Sean.
Sean,
Go mute.
You're right.
Go
You're
mute.
right. You're right, buddy. You're good. Good idea. I'm just gonna go do
Just
something
go
else.
mute. God damn. So the key point he's missing here. He's saying a million people are gonna individually take care of the who decides the connection of water to their house. That's not the case because we already live here in all these housing blocks that are owned by housing corporations. So if you let them decide individually which plumbing goes to the house, they're going to choose for the cheaper option with the most quality. Because if there's low quality, people are going to move to another housing corporation. And if it's not cheap, then people are going to move because it's too expensive to rent because they need to include these costs in the rent, obviously. So having them sorted out having the housing corporation sorted out individually instead of its all-encompassing governing system is way better. It's way cost-effective and better for the quality. You also, if you have this all-encompassing governing system, you don't have a choice, which means you're stuck with it with things. And if they're really bad, which we saw many times in the past in the United States, that I forget where it was exactly, but there was brown water coming out of the tap, out of the tap water. It was brown water, and you don't really have a choice. Was that it? Yeah, I forget. Was that the only? I think there were more examples, but anyway, those people didn't really have a choice, right? They couldn't say, "Well, we're going to opt out. This housing community is going to opt out of this Lake Michigan horseshit, and we're going to move somewhere else." No, you're stuck with this governing system that decided for you. Hey,
they moved.
buddy, you're stuck with.
They moved.
Whatever. Yeah, they moved. That's what I mean. They had to move. They couldn't decide as a housing community, we're not going to put up with this. We're going to go to a company ourselves and have them supply for us.
Why? Why do you think they didn't?
Because they had this all-encompassing governing system that prevents them.
No, because they don't have the money to do it. It's because they didn't have the money.
What do you mean it didn't have?
Otherwise, they would just. Otherwise,
no
they would just hire. Otherwise, they would just hire another company to build a water plant and new pipelines. That's why, because they didn't have the money to do what you're saying, Ed.
Okay, but who didn't have the money?
The people of Flint, Michigan, the communities that were affected by that water didn't have the money to hire a company to build a water plant and put new pipelines to their houses.
Why? What's the exact reason?
Because the individuals do not have that kind of money. It costs that much to do so.
I didn't say individuals. I said housing communities and that sort of stuff.
A small governing system? A small governing, because the governing system was too small.
I don't mean a governing system in your sense. I mean a voluntary hierarchy. Why couldn't they?
Again, you said a community. If you're talking about a
it's
community
voluntary
and that
hierarchy.
the community, yeah, again, if you're talking about the communities that were affected by in Flint, Michigan, with their water sources, those communities that were affected by that water did not have enough money to build a new water plant and new pipelines to their communities
Why?
because it cost too much, Ed.
Yeah, and why does it cost too much? Let's look up what the.
Because stuff costs money, Ed.
Yeah, you're missing the point.
I'm not missing the point. How about this, Ed? Without a government at all, even if we only had no money and we only did trading, that trading is a form of commerce. That form of commerce has a value. That value is adhered to by the independent person that is trading with another person. Again, it's the exact same thing, Ed. It's just money is money and one is trading furs and shit, Ed. Same
You're
thing
again,
though. Both are both are forms of currency.
you're again missing the point.
No, you're missing the point, Ed.
Without an all-encompassing government system, you would have companies competing with each other to supply the best quality for the lowest price. And because
That costs money, Ed.
yeah, that costs money, but the cost will go down and the quality will improve. And if you have an all-encompassing
No, it
government
wasn't. No, that's not how it works, Ed.
and if you, yes, that's how it works when companies have
No, it's not, Ed. I can tell you right now, for
I
30
wasn't
years
finished
of
with my
construction
sentence. I
and
wasn't finished with my
20 of
sentence.
those years bidding on jobs, you are
I wasn't
wrong.
finished with my
All right.
sentence. This is ridiculous. In a
You're right,
free
it is.
market, in a free market where companies compete with each other, the cost will be at minimal and the quality will be higher. Otherwise, you can just go somewhere else. If the company doesn't have good quality, or the price is too high or whatever, you can go somewhere else where the quality is higher and it's price you want to accept. There's a choice. And with an all-encompassing governing system, you don't have a choice. You're stuck with the deal they made. And so because you're stuck with it and you have to pay for it anyway, there's no reason for them to improve because they get the money regardless. If the company doesn't improve the quality or the price, they go bankrupt because people just shop somewhere else. That's how easy it is. You're muted, Sean. You're muted. You're
Sean,
muted.
you're muted. Hold on.
For
There you go.
someone who's been in the construction industry basically my whole life, I'm going to let you know now that bidding wars happen currently, and it is not subject to the government. It is subject to the quality and work being done and what it takes to do the job. To do what you're asking, a community alone cannot come up with the funds it would take to have the equipment and the materials to do the job you were saying, which is why a community that needs water lines, that needs cable, that needs anything that is part of an infrastructure, they need help from the state level because they can't afford to do it themselves. Otherwise, they would do it themselves, and they have the opportunity to do it themselves currently.
Okay, but there's very little choice in doing so right now.
Okay, if there was no governing system, you would have almost little to no options because there's no
That's
one
not true.
individual person that would do that or have the infrastructure to do it for free. A governing
No,
system.
what? I never said people should be able to do it
Oh
for
my
free. What are you
God.
talking about? Why mention
Again,
for free?
let me make this very clear. The money it takes to build a water line and a power plant for water, the cost does not change whether it's a government or not. That is the cost to do so. The
No.
reason we use the
What?
state,
No.
the reason we use our city's water source or our state's water source is because when we put all our money together at that state level, then we can afford to do it. And don't tell me no, because as a person that lives in a state that does these things, I know exactly how it fucking works. You telling me
Okay.
no is just your
Yes,
opinion.
I'm going to tell you no, and it's not just my opinion because how much of that is going to be going to taxes? How much of that is going to be put up cost that you had to deal with some regulation, some horseshit, whatever safety regulation for your company that cost you $1 million? How much of
Yep, that
the
safety
price?
that safety
How much?
regulation makes
How
sure you
much?
don't get fucking
How much?
salmonella while
How
you
much?
drink your water.
How much of the price is going into that cost and all that's no? Yeah, I'm not just.
Oh,
I'm
perfect.
I'm I'm giving you an example of some horseshit regulation.
Uh,
I'm not saying
yeah, no, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Let me give you an
some.
example of why this governing system is so great. Because of all those regulations that keep your ass safe and
Okay.
keep Joe from fucking selling you poison just to get your money. That's why a governing system is also great. Thanks for bringing up that point.
Okay. So why the hell would someone sell poison? You can go somewhere else
Because they used to do it in back in the day.
and they can what? They used to do it
Yeah,
back in
back
the
in the
day.
day, like in the
What
Wild
are you
Wild
talking
West,
about?
the medieval times, there used to be a lot of that happening where people would poison people to steal their wealth or to steal their cows. I mean, it's just human
That's
nature to
still
be a
that
fucking
happens.
scum.
That happens today. What are you talking about?
Congratulations, you're
That's
right.
just
You're right.
that's
It does
just
happen
that's
today.
just someone murdering someone else. And you're
Yeah.
yes, but
Good thing we have
yeah,
a governing system. Hey, good thing we have a governing system
no,
that protects
Sean,
you in
no,
certain
Sean.
cases.
But it still
Demon Stride, I
happens
think this is
today.
done. I don't.
But you can talk through
Dogs
me,
is
but this is
gods.
ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
All right.
No, we're done,
So
Ed. This is like talking to dogs as gods.
No,
It's pointless now, and
hold
I've
on,
now
how
noticed it.
about
I need to
how about
address
we
your
let
last
Ed finish his
example.
point, and then we'll go to the closing arguments. Go ahead and finish your point, Ed, and then
All
uh,
right, thank you.
Sean is going to close first. So
Okay, so the last example you gave was comparing a wild wild west where there's no all-encompassing government to now when there is an all-encompassing government, and you agreed that in both situations there are people out there who try to kill each other to get the other's wealth. So you made a mute point. Yes, sigh
No, I
all you
didn't.
want, but it's a non-point because you agreed it
It's
happens
not
in
on
both
point
situations.
because if you
You
look at the
agreed,
crime then
but
versus
you
the crime
agreed
now with a system, it's a lot
you
less.
you agreed it happens in both situations, and how do you know it happened way
Yep.
less back then? That's
Because
that's, that's
I
a
because
ridiculous point.
I do research and I'm not just talking out my ass like you. That's how
How
I
do you
know.
know everything back then was recorded first of all, and second of all, there was way
What
less
was recorded?
and
What
se-
through the
and
evidence I have through recorded history, I
and
can tell
second
you
of
that because we have better laws and better
I was going
government
to make a
and
second
bigger
point.
government, that it
hold on
actually
a
sits at
second.
that point. Just make
All
a
Right.
right. So
closing. I'm done. This is
Right.
just getting
So
ridiculous
not
now.
not, not so one, not
Your
everything
opinion
was
is this whole thing is just your
so
opinion. It's
so
pointless.
so one, not everything was recorded in those times because there wasn't this all-encompassing government as you put it. And second, there was way less people living back then.
All he's doing is trying to keep this debate hostage right now.
No, I'm just trying to address your points. I don't see why that's
Okay,
such
well,
a
this is
problem.
gonna get nowhere. We're just going around in
Hateful.
circles, and your only
all
rebuttals
right.
are no, and
Go
it's
ahead.
getting pointless to me now.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sean. You got 5 minutes for your closing.
I need 1 minute. A governing system is the betterment of a groups of people that can't individually do it themselves. It gives an opportunity for infrastructure to actually be built upon. An individual by himself is not able to do those things. In this governing system that we have right now, we are fully capable of moving to different communities if we don't like how they're run. We're able to move to different states if we don't like how they're run. And if we don't like how our federal government's run in the United States, we can move to any other country we fucking please at our will. And if we don't like being in another governing system, then we can buy a fucking island and form our own government. But regardless, the second more people get there and you have rules and you have situation and survival to think about, a governing system will always become a structure. Period.
All right. And go ahead, Ed.
Okay, going to address the last points he made specifically. First of all, people are people are free to choose a system of hierarchy. I didn't argue against that. That they should be free to do that when they can take care of things. They can choose like a community to live, or They can just choose to live on their own in the wild. I don't care. It's their freedom of choice. Sean gave again the option to leave the country, which is just such a ridiculous option. Choosing, having the freedom to choose like a community to take care of the things you can't take care of yourselves is always the better option, because it's like a 10-mile travel, or even if it's 100 miles, it's always better than traveling 1,000 miles to leave a country. It's just ridiculous to even suggest that. And then he said, governing systems develop naturally. Well, no. There's always going to be some asshole who's going to try to be a form of government. We've seen it throughout history that people want to be a governing system and go at war with each other. It's always governments who start those things because they want to be in power or are in power and feel threatened by another faction who wants to be the governing system. But you can defend yourself against aggression. It's called self-defense. There's no issue with that. And again, I didn't disagree that people naturally can form hierarchies. There's no problem with going to a voluntary hierarchy system of your choice. No issue with that. And that doesn't mean you need to leave the country. Just going to another community is always the better option than having to leave a whole country. I'm going to leave it at that. Are there maybe any questions from the chat or something? No, Sean, you're not going to address this.
There are no questions.
These were closing statements. You're not going to address what I said.
There were no questions, unfortunately. So I would like to thank my debaters for joining me. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Sean. This was an exhilarating debate. If you guys like what you saw here, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, check out our Discord. If you want to debate yourself, the floor is open. Thanks for showing up, guys.
Can I promote my channel?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead and plug what you guys want.
Okay, cool. I just want everyone to know that regardless of what Ed was saying, moving from community to community, it's just moving from another governing system, and that an individual is not a governing system. A governing system is a specific thing that
where can I find this channel?
Choose to do.
Yeah, where's this channel at, John? Later.